ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to episode number 7 of the Transport Fever 2 small map series. In episode number 6 we set up this line that we can see just here with a train running between the forestry industry on the outskirts, well the extreme outskirts of Long Eaton, and delivering those logs into the sawmill, which are then processed into planks and taken on to the tool forge just to the south of Long Eaton. We started off with one train running this line. I have let it run a little bit between the two episodes, this one and the previous one, and during that time I have doubled up on the amount of trains, so we now have 2 trains running along this little route here, and if we wait around for a few moments we should start to see the glimpse of the second train making its way down the hill there over to the left hand side of our screen, where we can see the bridge that we also constructed in the previous episode as well. The doubling up of the trains has had a positive impact on this line. We have a far stronger supply of logs going into the sawmill. That means the delivery trucks are not waiting around nearly as long to pick up a full load of the planks. So that's increased efficiency there. Both trains are making themselves a nice tidy profit, and that means obviously the line overall is making itself a nice tidy profit. After I'd set up the second train, I did once again allow the game to run just a little, just so we could build up some capital, so we can get straight on with the next phase of our expansion in this episode without too much lurking around. So let's bring up the user interface just as the second train rolls into view. We can see we're at 25 million, give or take, with a cash flow of around about 5 million. We find ourselves in 1916, June the 3rd. The date is still set to 1/2 speed, so we're taking it nice and steady through the eras. That actually fits in quite well with the playstyle this time around. Given the doubled costs on both maintenance and outright purchase of new vehicles, we do have to take it very, very slowly here. We can't be buying several trains in one episode. So today I would like to at least we will purchase the train that's going to run between the sawmill and the tool forge. That way we can get rid of all those road vehicles we saw previously, and we'll have this entire supply chain handled via the rail network. After that, I think we start to turn our attention to another city. I'm not sure which one we'll look at, but we can make a decision as to which one makes the most logical sense for us to start attending to next, and hopefully we'll be able to do that via some rail systems as well. So let's zoom ourselves out. Let's head over to the sawmill. We can see we have a full load here. Luckily we're not overflowing. We do have this cargo building to act as a buffer, but you know, there's no waiting around now for the vehicles to pick up a full load of planks to come and drop them off down here. However, that's largely irrelevant because they're going to be phased out in the next few moments. So what we want to do is go from Long Eaton sawmill into the Long Eaton freight exchange. Let's use, what colour do we want to use for this? I'll say we'll use, maybe not that one, that ever so slightly lighter shade there. Yes, we'll use that one. They've split themselves up on the platforms because they have no choice because of how we set up these switches on approach and departure from this station, so that's fantastic. We want to make sure these are fully loaded, as always. And you are taking planks, and you're not unloading anything. We're not going to change the ins and outs of this load here because nothing's been done there anyway. We will give it a more fitting name, and this will be the Long Eaton Planks Freight. Long Eatons? No, just Eaton. Long Eaton, no, we'll call it Lumber. Long Eaton Lumber Freight. Like so. And then we can head up here and purchase a train. Looking at how much we have, I dare say we can afford to purchase 2 trains for this run. So let's have a look. So we want that. In terms of cargo capacity or cargo wagons, we want to once again want to use these flat cars. That's 8, that's 10, that's 12. So 12 is the maximum we can have before we drop down to the mediocre rating for this train. That's pretty much what we have on these trains down here. I believe they cost us about 12 million a piece as well. So if we wanted to, we could go ahead and purchase 2 of them straight away. However, that wouldn't leave us much money to play with for any future expansion in this episode. Not without putting a mid-episode cut in there where we build up some more funds. So I think I'm going to play it conservative, and we are just going to go for the one train for now. So let's do that. Let's colour this train, give it the same colour scheme as the line it's going to run on, and then assign it onto said line, and away it goes. What this means now is we can go ahead and sell all of these vehicles on this line, so we'll do that straight away. We're down to 27. If you remember, I did sell some in the previous episode during the cut phase, so let's go ahead and sell those off right now. So that's them gone. What we also want to do is perhaps get rid of these roads here. They do cost us a little bit in maintenance, not a great deal, but we'll get rid of them anyway. So confirm the destruction of that. We don't need it anymore. That'll take away that little goods shed that we had there as well. We won't get rid of this because we might use this in the future. Eventually we're going to have... What's complaining? Well, that's complaining, but there's nothing running on it anyway. So let's just manage the line and then delete the line. There we go. Just to get rid of the error message. As I was saying, in the future we're going to have more cargo being brought down here. So rather than trying to squeeze in extra platforms and pick up points on this exchange, we'll just go ahead and utilise this one. So this will be mothballed for now, but it won't be sold off. We'll keep it there. We are going to have to pay maintenance on it, of course, but that's no problem. So the planks train should be making her way down momentarily. Just waiting for clearance on this station with the looks of it. Oh no, we have clearance. Of course we do. Brilliant. So they're going to make their way down and start ferrying the planks down into the tool forge. Okay, so that's the first aspect taken care of. What do we want to turn our attention to next? Well, there's Herne Bay here. However, both of the goods required by Herne Bay are, several step long production chains, machinery and goods. Now, we could maybe start looking at machinery. We do produce the planks already, and we could devise a way to get them back up here into the machinery factory. We are supplying one half of the required goods for the steel. We've got the coal run set up here. We do have iron nearby. However, I don't think we'll have the capital to bring in a line supplying iron and then bring this line down into here, and also bring the line supplying the wood into here. Not with just 15 million. That's gonna, that's something for the future. Likewise, the goods, we're nowhere near completing that. I mean, yeah, we're half the way to completing this steel. However, the plastics, while we are producing the refined oil, we would have... maybe we will actually ship that oil up into here. We'll put a mark in that for now. We might do that. We also have Axbridge, which requires bricks and food, both of which are fairly straightforward to produce. We are already producing bricks up here in Epping, so building a rail line down here and dropping them off to supply Axbridge wouldn't be too difficult. The food, our food production plant is down here. We're not supplying any of the raw resources yet, but again, getting a line from this farm down into here wouldn't be too difficult. And in fact, I'm just looking at the distances here. I was toying with the idea, or just mulling over the idea of having one station here against the side of the river, which also supplies Axbridge, but I think that the journey time for the road vehicles would be too much. Also, eventually we're going to have at least 6, I think we have all 6 coming in here, all 6 of the commodities, and that would mean we'd need at least a 7 platform station here, and it would be a very, very tight squeeze to get 7 tracks in down here. So I'll abandon that little idea I had, and if we are going to do that, we would just have a bespoke station for the farm and then a second station for Axbridge, which handles the incoming freight. But I think that's what we are going to turn our attention to next. It is Axbridge. I mean, we are producing both of these commodities here that Epping requires. However, we have to get them all the way from the bottom end of the map up to the northern end of the map, and that is something for the future. I'd rather grow our rail lines a little bit more organically. So what we're going to do then, we are going to build a station, a freight station, over by Axbridge. Let's just have a look at the land use layer here. So all our residential buildings are nestled nicely over on the eastern side of Axbridge. We do have a couple popping up over here and down here, but primarily on the western side of Axbridge it is industrial and commercial sectors. And what I'm getting at here is these guys, they're not bothered about the noise pollution, these guys are. Obviously our station, it's going to generate a lot of noise pollution, so what we don't want to do is have our station right here where it's going to royally piss off all of our residents. Instead, we're going to have it over this side, and that makes more logical sense anyway, so Axbridge is almost perfectly set up for us in terms of its layout. So let's go ahead and get ourselves this cargo station then. We'll go for a 2-track station immediately. I didn't mean to keep zooming out, I wanted to rotate that. There we go. That's the problem with swapping between Transport Fever 2 and Railway Empire. The controls for the two are ever so slightly and subtly different. Therefore, once you've been playing one, you get used to the control setup, then you jump to the other one and you're all at sea. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this station somewhere like... I think we'll have it in this direction, angled ever so slightly off to the left, and we'll place it there. This will be the Axbridge Exchange, like that. Now the first thing I want to do is make sure this has a connection to our existing rail lines. Now that should be fairly straightforward, we're not too far away, although we do have to bridge this rather large river just here. But that shouldn't be too much of a problem. It will be expensive, but it won't be difficult. So what we're going to do is from this line here that feeds out from our depot into the oil well station, we're going to take a branch line and double it back on itself like this. I'd like you to retain the same height. That should guarantee we have a nice overlap here, which we do. And you're going to head off to the north towards the new station that we have at Axbridge. At this point you don't need to do that, you can drop down a little if you so wish, although it's still going to get, do you know what, it's expensive, or it will add unnecessary costs, but I do like that bridge there. Yeah, I think we'll go ahead and we'll go with the bridge. We could have swapped out for earthworks of course, but I quite like a bridge from time to time. And then as we come through this hillside here, we'll go for the tunnel. It does break up the line ever so slightly, if you know what I mean. It changes the scenery somewhat, so we'll take a tunnel there. And what we want to do now is we want to get over this river and connect it into the station over there at Axbridge. So we're going to come down to the river's edge. Now really, we don't want to lose too much of our elevation here. Saying that, however, what we don't want is an excessive bridge like this is going to produce here. So we can swap that out for earthworks. It does look a little bit strange using all that soil to raise your railway up rather than a bridge, but we can blend it in a little bit later. And then from here on out is where we want to go for a bridge. And we want to maintain the same height here, which we have done. Let's just pull that back in a little bit, like so. Now, this would be a navigable river, however, I don't foresee any river industries popping up in the future. I mean, we might have a ferry system between Herne Bay and somewhere towards Axbridge, or we could have a ferry system bringing in the machines, although no we won't, because that's just such a small gap, it's rather pointless. So yes, we're probably not going to do too much with water transportation in this series. So the navigable status of this river is of very little concern. So we'll go as far as there then. And then what we're going to do, we're just going to bring it in nicely into our awaiting station, switch to earthworks like we did on the opposite side of the river. And then we'll double this up as far as there. We're not going to go any further than that. It would just be unnecessary expenditure on our part. I do like that bridge over the river. I think it looks very, very nice, quite scenic. It would be nice to have some boats going under there just for the scenery effects, but in terms of their actual utilisation, they're not going to provide us very much at all. Anyway, now let's head up to here. We want to put a cargo building around here somewhere, and we want to make sure we have access. And if we utilise the road that we currently have, we will have access, as we can see. So let's go ahead and place that station just there, and this will be known as Epping Brickworks. It tells it exactly what it is on the tin, so we know what we're dealing with here. And now we're just going to bring these tracks out and bring them down towards Axbridge. Now this should be reasonably straightforward once again. The terrain isn't too challenging around here. We do drop off somewhat here though, as we can see. So that's something to bear in mind. In fact, let's just check. So we're up at 105, whereas our station is down at, okay, yeah, we drop off quite a lot. We lose about, well, we lose pretty much 100 meters there. So this climb here is going to be quite the climb. If we just do a straight run, what is it going to do? What's it going to build for us? Well, we're going to have a tunnel under here, which I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind that. And we're going to have another tunnel through here. I think there a cutting would be better for us, so we'll swap you out for a cutting. And in terms of the gradient, well, it's over 2 kilometers, well, 2+ kilometers. So the gradient shouldn't be too high in terms of its percentage, because we've stretched it out over such a distance. So let's bring the parallel track all the way in as well. Like so. Wonderful. And now, in theory, we are ready, after we've done the signal work, of course, and put a crossover, we are ready to set up a line that brings down these bricks. Let's just try and get this in. It was being a bit funny there. Let's try that again. We've got plenty of space to work with here, so we will go for a higher speed crossover there at 60 miles per hour. It's largely irrelevant because we're coming to a stop at the station anyway, but what the heck. Everything else looks pretty good, and we're going to need a crossing here as well. And I'm going to go and say, you guys, when you're dropping off the bricks, you can go on to platform number 2. No rhyme or reason to that, I just wanted to do it. Anyway, let's put a signal there for the station approach. We'll put a blocking signal here. They're little, oh no, they are quite parallel, that's fine. We'll put one more just prior to this tunnel here. And we'll have one on this corner. Well, I say corner, it's a slight bend here. And then we'll have a controlling signal on approach to the station just by the switch. And do we want to use a clearing set of signals? Yes, I think we do. So we'll have one more block just here. This means we can have several trains running down here, quite a few in fact. We're not going to, but we have the option available. Okay, so doing all of that has pretty much eaten through our cash reserves. So there's not much more we can do at the moment, but I'm sure we can set up the required infrastructure down here in terms of our truck delivery line. So we'll have a nice straight road outside of our station, and then we want it to head on over into the town of Axbridge. Now I could aim for that one, it's a lot closer, however, I'm going to connect in over here instead. Again, no real rhyme or reason to that, I just want to do it. So you're coming in there, and you will loop around and connect into that, like so. We do, of course, want a truck station over here, and we want to make sure we have one where we have plenty of room for future expansion. As I keep saying, we do have the maximum cargo demand set to 6, so eventually we could have as many as 6 truck lines all picking up from here to deliver it into Axminster. So we want to make sure we have plenty of space to grow. And to that end, I'm going to, in fact, let's just give it 6 straight off the bat, then we're done, aren't we? Well, that's big. But that's okay. So if we put you there, and you will be the Axbridge Exchange, much like your station counterpart. Put another street access there. Eventually we can have multiple accesses in and out of here when we need them, when we're setting up extra lines. But to start with, we'll just have the default one on either side, slap bang in the middle. Then what we'll do is obviously give these a connection into the road network so they can get in and out as they need to, like that. And I'm also going to go ahead and just chuck down a couple of waypoints on either side, just so we can marshal our vehicles exactly as we need them. Okay. Next, we're going to need a drop-off point inside of Axbridge itself. And in terms of location for that, I'm going to go ahead and pop it down there. So now we can actually set up the line. It's nice and straightforward, and you're also opting to loop back around and keep yourself nice and tidy without any intervention needed from myself, which is fantastic. We're just going to keep that as load if available, so the default settings there, but change you to bricks and quickly rename this, and this is the Axminster Bricks Delivery. There we go, Axminster Bricks Delivery, accept, close you down. We want a depot. We don't want a tram depot, however, we want a road vehicle depot, and we'll put you down here. You will also service Axminster when we do set up the bus lines in the future, so you're close enough to handle that. Now we want to buy the vehicles, cargo, and we can use the side state trucks for this, so guess what? That's what we're going to do. To start with, I'm just going to go with 2. Now initially these are going to run around empty, doing nothing, making no money, but at least they are there ready. The reason they're not going to make any money is because we don't have any bricks coming in, of course. Now we're not going to be able to afford to get a train to run these bricks in because of the increased costs that we have to incur, but that's fine. We can at least set the line up so we are ready. Like that, nice and straightforward, nothing too complicated happening here. However, we do want to change the load orders at the brickwork so they wait an infinite amount of time to ensure they have a full load. And you're taking bricks. Here we don't need to do anything, they're just dropping the bricks off and then heading straight back. So this will be the Epping to Axminster Bricks Freight. Perfect. So yes, we're not going to be able to afford a train, but we can... well, I know exactly what sort of train we're going to have. We're basically going to have a mirror image of the trains that we have down here, with the A35 and a, is it 10 wagon consist or 12? Either way, that's what we're using down here. In the meantime, let's just have a look at this train. Have you made a delivery yet? Yes, you must have done, otherwise you wouldn't have any profit here. How are you going to do for us? Oh, it might be close actually. That might be a little close. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. Are we going to need an extra train bringing in the wood, do we think? Just to avoid the this happening here, where this platform or this industry runs dry, so there's no output here, which means he might have to wait around. We'll have to look at that. What I'll do is, what I've always had to do lately because of the slower pace of this, I'm going to pause the date progression here, put a little cut in the episode, and just monitor this over a couple of maybe 1 or 2 years, and see if we do need to chuck in a third train. Now that means we're gonna, well, we're not going to be able to afford to get 2 trains in 1 episode unless we take out a loan. Now if you remember, I did say I have paid off the $20 million loan that we had in the starting episode, so we could tap into that. However, I have also increased the loan repayment costs up to 400%. So any loan we do take now is rather punishing indeed, at least compared to vanilla. So that's something we're going to have to bear in mind. Anyway, let's just let this do its thing for a year or 2, and then we'll pick it up and we'll have a look how it's doing, and if we do need a third train, and then we're going to have to decide how we pay for it. Who knows, we might have even accumulated enough money to pay for it outright, but we shall see. So I shall catch you in just a few seconds' time. Okay, so the cut actually wasn't that long. I just jumped in quite quickly here because I opened the finance chart of the Long Eaton lumber freight line. Don't know why it says Long Eatons, it's just Long Eaton. There we go. And as you can see, we've now completed a full year with the full amount of pickups and unloads and what have you. And as we can see, we are making the narrowest of profits here. It costs us 1.7 million to run this line, and we make 1.83 million, so we're making $130,000 per year with this train. It's not a great deal, and it certainly could be better. Now, I think it will be improved if we have better supply over here at the sawmill. Now, as I said, we have a way to do that, and that is chuck an extra train on this line. Now, these have spaced themselves out nicely, so a third train, in terms of the track travel time, it probably doesn't warrant it. We don't really have the length of track to have 3 trains running up and down here. 2 is more than enough. So we do have a second option. We could double head these trains and chuck on some more carriages. Now that would also that would work. It would retain the locomotive power because we have 2 engines, and we'd have far greater throughput in theory because we'd have more carriages. It would eliminate the need for having a third train down here because these would just be pulling more and more. Obviously, as we get further down in through the eras, we wouldn't need to double head it any longer because our locomotives would be a lot more powerful and they can handle a longer consist without any issues. Now, I'm trying to keep these on a good rating because if you remember when we set the line up, we do have a little bit of a climb here as we head up towards the bridge. So we don't want too much slowdown in terms of power losses on these trains as they're tackling this bit, especially because they're fully loaded as they come up the hill. Going down the hill, it doesn't really matter. They've got an empty load, so they can just basically coast down the hill and let gravity do the work. But up here, we are fighting against the gravity, and all the logs are going to add a lot of weight to the back of this train. So yes, we'd want to keep these trains in the good power rating where possible. So if we wanted to do that then, and double head and improve the consist size, how much would that set us back? Well, it's going to be a lot of money. We're not going to be able to afford it. I can pretty much guarantee that straight away. Or we could go for, I think it would look a little bit silly having an A35 and a PLM on the same loco. So let's just do that. Right. Now let's go to cargo. Let's go to the flat cars. So at the minute we have 12. So if we took that to, say, 18, that's an extra 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You still retain the good rating. That's a very, very nice power rating, actually. 50 miles an hour on the medium grades is always good. What if we went to 20? That's still mightily impressive for what it's doing, especially for 1917. So maybe we'll do that then. If we wanted to do both of them, how much would we have to spend? Well, look at that, pretty much 20 million. But I think that is the way ahead. Now that does mean any locomotive we were going to purchase for this is pretty much out of the window for this episode. Or here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. Do we get the train to run this line and hope that it makes us a nice profit? Now, we're only going to be able to afford one of those trains because to get 2 would be about 20 odd million again, so we can't afford that. Let's see here. Cargo. You take bricks, so you're fine. What's that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We can afford it. We know it's got a good rating because that's what we have running down on the lumber line just to the south. And it would activate that line, and it means we can start to slowly grow Axminster in the background as the bricks start being delivered, and it means those 2 delivery vehicles we have for Axminster aren't sat around doing a whole lot of nothing. So I think we'll go down that avenue. That way at least we've got this line activated and not completed because we will need more trains on the line, but at least it's doing something for us. We're not just paying maintenance on all this track infrastructure and these 2 vehicles for no good reason. So that's what we're going to do, and we'll see what this bad boy has to do for us. Hopefully it's going to be a decent money maker. I'm sure it will be. In fact, let's just Now that we've picked it back up, we can reset everything to the normal settings for this playthrough, which is 1 times and half times there. Yeah, and hopefully this will do us a world of good. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to end the episode here today. It might be a bit shorter than usual. I do apologise for that, but these episodes will, in general, be a little bit shorter than I ordinarily would aim for, simply because we have to increase and expand, especially right now in the early days, at a slower and more methodical pace. So what we'll do then, for an outro, we've got a new train, we've got a new line. Let's have a ride on this train. We get to ride over the bridge over the river, which will be quite pleasant. And then in the next episode we'll see how it's going to perform for us. Obviously I'll run it off camera for a bit just to see, but yeah, we'll all find out together pretty soon. So thank you for watching today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed it and you're continuing to enjoy this series. It's a little slower pace than usual, as I just mentioned there a few moments ago, but I quite like that change of pace and change of dynamic. If you have enjoyed the episode and you are enjoying this series, then a like rating on the video is always very much appreciated. It does mean a lot personally, and it does help with the old YouTube algorithm nonsense. Similarly, if you're watching and you're not yet subscribed, then any subscriptions are also greatly appreciated, especially as we get very, very close to that 1,000 subscriber milestone. Saying that, of course, by the time this video is published, we may have already exceeded the 1,000, but at time of recording, we sit at 989, which is, well, that in itself is absolutely fantastic. So, for those of you who have subscribed, thank you very much. For now, though, ladies and gentlemen, all that remains for me to say is, as always, take very good care of yourselves. It's ta-ta for now.